This is the Vazen 40mm T2 1.8x anamorphic lens in the Micro Four Thirds mount. And it is dope. Hello everybody, Jeremy Burchard with Moonlight Social here, and welcome to another episode of Gear Talk. Today we're going to be talking about this amazing anamorphic lens, specifically when used in combination with the Blackmagic Pocket 4K. So I've been using this lens with the Blackmagic Pocket 4K for several months now, and to cut to the chase, I absolutely love it. It is one of the most amazing combinations when it comes to affordably achieving incredible cinematic and filmic results. Truthfully, you can capture images with this setup that are, to the average person, indistinguishable from big budget Hollywood films that cost 10 to 20 times as much for a rig. We recently filmed a music video called What Do You Want From Me using this lens, the Blackmagic Pocket 4K, and two little aperture MC lights, and it is, in my opinion, our most cinematic looking music video to date.
It's me, the one you swore you wanted for all time.
Of course, a lot of that also has to do with the location and story, but this lens camera combo was a huge factor in the overall look of the video. I've also filmed several other clients since picking this lens up, and I wanted to give you a sort of real world review of sorts. There are a ton of great reviews of this specific lens out there, and I'll link to a couple in the description below. But this is going to be more of just a practical tips and tricks and what I've learned from using this lens on multiple projects. Now, there's a good chance you're here specifically because of the Blackmagic 4K with Vazen combo. And there might have been a couple things you've heard about it. One of the things being like, the flange distance is a little off on the camera, so it makes the lens, blurrier and blah, blah, blah. I'll just address that right now. At T2, wide open, this lens is pretty soft. To be honest, it's not unusable footage by any means, but it's pretty much best if you're going to be shooting a still image or still subjects, or your actors are really good at nailing their marks. Otherwise, you might get some focus drift and you might just be battling some softness around the edges. So what I do when using this lens is I actually stop it down to a T4, and that drastically sharpens the image. Obviously, when you talk about an anamorphic lens, you're already inviting some of that softness in the first place. That's one of the characteristics that a lot of people love about anamorphic, is it really takes a digital image and makes it feel a little more soft, a little more well-rounded, a little more filmic. So yes, shooting with this lens at T4 absolutely allows you more wiggle room. And since I do a lot of stuff on shoulder rig or a lot of handheld stuff, what I'll usually do is I'll take the ISO of the camera and I'll switch from its native 400 to native 3200. That gives me a ton of available light to shoot things like this warehouse shot, where the only light coming into this entire space was through a hole in the ceiling. We also had an aperture MC light just flashing on like a broken bulb effect setting, but the only real light was that hole in the ceiling. And at 3200 ISO, with this lens at T4, I had more than enough light to use in these shots. I actually darkened them drastically. So obviously, anamorphic lenses add a little bit of softness in the first place. That's part of the reason you want them, because they take a really crisp digital image and make them feel a little more filmic. But the sweet spot for me is T4 with your camera at 3200 if you need to shoot darker scenes. And then obviously if you're out in the daylight or whatever, 400 is great. There's one other big thing to pay attention to when you are using this specific lens with the Blackmagic Pocket 4K, and that is that the camera doesn't have a Desqueeze that is set to 1.8x. So if you use the anamorphic setting on the camera, you're gonna get a 2x preview. What that means is essentially the image is just gonna look a little bit shorter and a little bit squattier, kind of fatter, a little more compressed vertically. Obviously, it's just a preview. That's not how the image actually is being shot. When you take it out of the camera and putting it into DaVinci Resolve, you desqueeze it at 1.8x and it looks perfect, but just keep that in mind. Now, if you want to shoot with the full sensor size at 4K DCI, you totally can. You'll have to manually desqueeze in post, and also the preview image is going to look even worse. That said, there are really nice monitors like the Portkeys LH5, which allow you to desqueeze the image to whatever degree you want. So you can pull up a 1.8x desqueeze on the monitor and see everything that you're seeing in the frame. One thing to notice though is that when you are desqueezing at 1.8x using that monitor, you're actually going to be seeing more of an image than you will be pulling into your final product. So you'll have some area on the left and right that you'll actually be cropping out when you manually desqueeze in post. It could be cool. You might want to, you know, slide over a little bit to the left or right, or for whatever reason, you might want to use that super ultra wide crop. Kind of looks a little weird to me, but I have seen it done before, so it's up to you. Other than those two things, this lens is absolutely fantastic. Obviously, I've shown you a bunch of different footage of things I've shot so far, from real world projects and just test subjects, things like that. There is a 28mm version of this lens that I'm very excited to try out, hopefully pretty soon. But until then, I hope you really enjoy some of the footage that I've got with this. Like I said, you can see our music video, What Do You Want From Me, if you want to kind of see the whole thing in action. And just, you know, bear in mind that the cost of this lens with a Blackmagic Pocket 4K is amazing when you consider what you're actually getting for the price. I'm honestly kind of bummed when I'm shooting a project in 16:9 now, just because I love working with footage from this lens so much. Other cool notes, I've actually been able to balance this with the Pocket 4K on the new DJI RS2. I've been able to put it on the new Tilta Hydra car mount, and I've got a couple other things that I'm going to be testing and talking about in future videos. So if you want to see more content around using this lens and hopefully the 28mm anamorphic lens in the future, please subscribe to the channel because I'll definitely have some more stuff to show you in the future. That's it for now. I hope this was enjoyable for you. I hope it helped you understand just what you can achieve using this lens with the Blackmagic Pocket 4K and perhaps cleared up a couple questions you might have. If not, if you have more questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I will do my best to answer them. And until next time, happy filming.